So I'll just pull up the agenda here. That's not it. There we go. Okay. So we did want to get feedback just because we don't have a hard deadline on getting the site assessment done. So I wasn't sure whether we want to just agree to wait on this until we have a deadline, or Chris, how would you want to proceed? I just want to get some feedback on that.
Well, I'm going to use the fact that I was sick that I haven't got it done yet. But the fact is, because there is no deadline, it makes it much harder for me to prioritize. So, but I do intend on getting a hold of people this week. I'm almost caught up with my projects, and then I can give more time to it. I just have so many projects I got to get done that are going to take priority over volunteers. So that's where it's at.
Hey, Chris.
Go ahead.
Dave Nesbitt, do you know him?
Yep.
He really was very interested in meeting with you or talking with you about the different site selections.
Okay.
And he's been on the island a long time and is really aware of some of the places they have had docks in the past.
Okay.
So
he's top of my list. Matter of fact, he's the only one I got written on my list right now.
Okay.
So we had so I don't know if you want, had sent a list a while ago, I think in a spreadsheet, we generated a list, and I can send you that again if that would be easier to get it fresh, Chris.
I would appreciate that, Lane. I was reviewing stuff that you sent me already, and what'd you call it? It was the county one where they're evaluating the different ferry sites.
Yeah, that one I wouldn't pay attention to right now, because after we discussed that, it sounded like from when we talked to Ted Morse, he was like, kind of give them just descriptions, and if they want more, they'll ask for it.
Okay.
So the idea right now is to not do a rating scale, not do a no more than, I think the last one I sent you was just a list of each site with, I think there were maybe 5 factors, exposure to weather, was it, who owned it, and so what was the likelihood of getting
right.
it, parking and pedestrian safety. So there were just a couple of those, like 5 things, so that each is compared on the same set of criteria, but not coming out with a grade per se, just this is privately owned, very unlikely,
right,
this versus this is public. So I can send you that again too. So you just
have so my mind is right now a simple larger paragraph with a picture of the site description and then the factors that you're talking about, which we've talked about before. So that's exactly my mind.
And then we can share that with Parks and Recreation and say, is this sufficient to give an idea of what? And we still will be talking to engineers about, would you see any of these sites as more likely than we do? Okay. No deadline has been set for this task. Okay, cool. I'll put this in red so that I remember. So I'll do the minutes and then I'll see this. Okay, so next thing is talk about the RFQ. I did go ahead and send you guys the one, so that everyone, if people want to jump ahead or say, now wait, when are we going to cover this or whatever, feel free. I'm calling this RFQ version 2. I still have in it, I think most of the comments. I simply accepted the edits that Rod had made directly, and then I went on and used his comments to try to figure out where we need to make changes. So I am going to just turn. So I have the show comments here, and I have contextual, which means they are next to. And for some reason, it's not. So it's on the left now. Okay, so any particular, most of the edits were really in the tasks. And I did take out the discussion about how we're going to go about getting, following the process, the procurement process. But I did keep, one of the important things is I realized that for me anyway, I think the reason our original document was more detailed was it was really for us, right? We want to be able to say, okay, have we covered everything? Can we communicate this to the community and to can we, during discussions with contractors, we want to make sure, like when we're interviewing them, I think that some of that content that we took out, I didn't delete. I think we want to remember that we discuss these things. But I can see that when you get the RFQ, what you're asking is, what are they looking for? What do I have to do? And what would be the cost for me to do that? So I think that's where the streamlined part just makes a lot of sense. I did take the goals out with the expectation that it was redundant. But again, the goals would be probably what we would put, say, in the advertisement, right? Or in an email, introducing ourselves to people. Here are our goals. Here's the RFQ that supports those goals. Does that make sense to people?
I think so. I'd have to go back and review those goals.
I can show you real quickly, but basically, okay. So here's the original. And before the scope of work, we had these goals.
And I think that came right out of the grant, right?
It came out of, possibly out of the grant.
Yeah, I guess it is somewhat redundant, right, from the specific task. So
I couldn't figure anything we said there that wasn't included.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that in the public announcement would be a good thing, good summary, right?
Right, because one danger of any redundancy is always, if you edit one, did you edit the other?
Right.
And did it count, did the numbers, in a sense, I did rework it a little bit. I realized that what happened was Rod was actually giving feedback in his comments. He gave actually 2 chunks of feedback about the, so I didn't change anything. I don't think anything changed in public and agency engagement, or if it did, it was minor and I just accepted his edit. He talked about focusing on 3 tasks. So he said, may consider streamlining it to focus on the most important items: public engagement, site assessment, preliminary design and cost, next steps. So by putting basically all of the design into one, I ended up with a third task, which was really preparing the final report and then suggested next steps. I hadn't really addressed, I had used the term final design. And if you notice, he pointed out, we don't want to use that term because final design documents tell people these are engineering ready for construction. So it is the site design plan for the preferred design is, and what he said is then for this, sort of spell out what would that site design plan include.
Mm-hmm.
But he actually put this 2 different places. That's what got me a little confused. I realized, I think he's like me. He was reading straight down through. He didn't go back and say, oh, I already commented on this. I think he just commented twice.
Okay.
and I think now I have all of the elements he put into both of those. That what should the plan, because he has, I might expect here, it says, I might expect, that doesn't want to pop back up. Here he says, I might characterize what the plan is expected to include. Okay, so that was basically a second comment. So that hopefully then means that for this conceptual, the original conceptual designs, and we did talk about whether we could keep 3 conceptual designs in, and he said maybe just make it 2. And I thought go back to 2 or 3. We put in 3 because KPFF had said 3, and we want to make sure we had apples to apples. But if they, but he's right, and I think for us it's a complex, like it's a big project. From an engineering perspective, it's probably like, okay, 125 feet, my friends, we're not going to have a lot of options, and maybe that's the way he's thinking of it. So is that
well,
okay?
maybe just trying to narrow the scope a bit. I like the specific deliverables. That's a good plan.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so then making sure that we did get in, and these to me were the specific things that we want to make sure were addressed. And I don't say them again. Before, I think I repeated that later. But if we say that your options need to just discuss it, then obviously the final has to discuss it. And then we get out of this step 2 of conceptual designs as continuing the discussions, and then he had said assist Leica in selecting the preferred alternative. It does say cubic, and none of you guys caught that.
Not do a spell check.
Well, it's okay, spell check, and even grammar.
Oh, right.
What a questionable word to use. So then the site design plan, and this is where we kind of combine, because originally I had the estimate. I think I had the estimates and permitting requirements as like one of the final steps. And I think his point is that would be in. The point is you have a preferred design. You are now presenting that preferred design to all your stakeholders. This needs to be the story. So the story is, what's this about? How did we get here? What are we proposing? How much would it cost? How long would it take? What would it take to get permitted?
Okay.
So I combined those and then made, like I say, the final task is really helping us, wrap up. And I mentioned in my comments that one thing that I realized was that this is a final report of basically the whole project. I mean, we have 3 contractors, but we don't have 3 final reports, right? Everybody else see it that way? We have 1 report.
Yes.
Okay. So in that case, they help integrate the findings from the other 2. So the site investigation also includes the marine survey and the cultural resources. But this report isn't just engineering and outreach. This report is the project final report.
So we should specify that here then, right?
Well, it says results of site assessments. The site assessments here associated environmental investigations. And I mean, I can spell out if you want to say including cultural resources study and marine survey.
I think we should, and we might just highlight that that's provided by other contractors, just to be clear.
Yeah. Yes. I say the same thing. Just be sure that is not going to be extra work for them. They just need to integrate.
Yeah. Okay, Chris. Everybody see Chris. That? His audio is gone. Yeah, I think that's good, Lane.
Okay. And that's something I had on is you want that.
Hey, Lane, you used the word critical path diagram.
That's from
Is that something from
it's from Rod, but it's also what you see in all of those diagrams is that it doesn't really go step 1, step 2, step 3. Often it's step 1 and step 2, and then you have a step 4, but you can't get to step 4 unless. So
okay, step 3 happens. Okay.
You have an obstacle or you have to stop and wait. So we can only get this far. So the timeline, instead of being this nice like 3 months and 3 months and 3 months, it shows that some things can be parallel, other things stop and wait. And
so it has dependencies in there.
if the stop and wait is now terribly long, I mean, what was Roland talking about? Like 3 years to get permitting. Then that stop and wait is that's on the critical path. We can't get around.
Mm-hmm.
So any engineer will know what a critical path diagram. It's also called a PERT diagram, P-E-R-T. And the point of the diagram is it does convey information very quickly to people. You can see, oh, that's going to take a long time. So, and that is what Rod suggested we ask for specifically. Sound good? Okie dokie. So then that.
And you made the dates kind of vague, right? For now.
I'm sorry, what's that?
I was just looking down. So the dates have been changed. They're kind of vague now because we don't have hard dates yet.
Yeah, this is actually what was in. We worked on this.
Yeah. Okay.
Just to say, but because there are 2 different ways of presenting this, and one is hard dates, and one is again time frame. So I think time frame. Oh, this just went to the next page. I'll have to squish it a little bit more. But the deliverables, I didn't change anything here because although I apparently this I will have to change this final report. Yeah. Oh, actually, that maps better to the previous. These 2 draft conceptual designs and 60% design actually map to conceptual design and this guy. So they do actually map to these. I also, to me, it helps to show milestones that map to a task, which is where I had sort of integrated the 2 of those before, where each of these had the words really specifically in it. This is the 60% design phase. But I noticed that in their RFQs, Parks and Rec said there will be a 60% design review. And it didn't say like when or anything, but apparently that's super common.
Excuse me, guys.
Super common to have that as a milestone.
Okay.
So we, during discussions with people, will say that maps to task 2, step 2, subtask. Tasks 2, subset 2.2 would be 60%. Maybe not. I can't remember right now. I have to think about that because we do need to convey to them in terms of our expectation. That's where I'm not sure if that is just part of the contract and not the RFQ. But in any case, we'll make sure we ask during the interviews for them to specify when will milestones be reached. Well, I think we already said that, but no, it does say 60% for preferred design. So the preferred design, so somewhere in here, the 60% occurs. But again, they seem to be that we don't need to spell out to them because that's something they would anticipate would be part of the contractual agreement, that we don't just wait till day 364 to find out you weren't on track.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it sounds like from what you're saying from Rod that that's a familiar milestone or term. First time I'd heard it, but I guess.
Yeah, but then as I look back, I see that it occurs, and it's obviously a standard milestone from our.
I have a question. When you use the word 60% designed for preferred site, let's see, I've got somebody, okay, for the preferred site is completed. I'm thinking that there's really no different, I guess are we including site assessment in the contractors thing, or are we going with the site for the public dock?
Oh, I see. Number one just says for the proposed project site. And so I think during discussions with engineers, we can say we have a proposed site because we did not find any other site that we thought was feasible. However, part of our discussion with you will be sharing our high-level site assessment. And if Parks and Recreation says that's all we need, then we just have to convey to the community that that's what we did. But I'm not sure this statement about this rather, I don't want to say vague, but pretty open-ended statement came directly from KPFF. And we haven't ever gotten from them exactly what do you mean by that?
I might, can you scroll down to that 60% again? Mary has a good point. Maybe we should call that 60% design, not site.
Oh, here
because, you. Yeah. Because according to the grant, we only have one site, right?
Yeah.
It's
Parks
and Rec. Okay. So,
yeah, I don't think we want that word site in there. Yeah.
Got it. So this site assessment
because we are not going to be doing cultural resources studies on different sites. We are not going to be doing marine algae on different sites.
No.
So I think it just needs to be site specific to our site.
Okay. So this says proposed project site, and there's just one. So I think the how did we get here discussion is we had one site because after 2 years, the committee never believed there was more than one site. But here's some background if anyone wants to look at it. I think that a presentation to Parks and Rec would want to include it. I mean, I guess any presentation will include it at least as a high-level discussion.
Do we want to specifically restate the site right here? Just proposed project site, comma, the Parks and Rec shore access park or whatever. Just to be clear. I mean, it's all in the description up above, but.
Yeah. I mean, we can.
Because
I don't think we need that.
Yeah, I feel like it actually comes in, Whatcom County Parks and Recreation Beach Access Site. Okay. I think we're okay with that, Dave. I'm with Mary.
All right, it's just that we've confused ourselves. I don't want to confuse.
No. The only reason, and I don't think we are confused, we're just asking as a fair point of discussion with the community and the Parks and Recreation. The work we did to get here includes the project background. Project background will tell, when we could convey what do we want in the project background, where to go. the final report, this project background, part of this project background is why this site, because there wasn't another site.
So that's something we'll provide to this engineering firm. They're not going to do anything.
Oh, Mary, were you actually asking me about this results of site assessments?
No, I was the 60% site. I wanted that out of there.
Got it. Okay, so I see. So site assessment. I think
the site assessment, you know, I think that when we begin having the public meetings, we will have to answer that question, and I imagine there will be the pushback from folks that are
somehow
not in my backyarders.
Yeah.
And I think we need to be able to answer that. So we need to have that completed with our reasoning, to give that to the consultants, you know, and to let them know that, you know, there is not 100% unanimous agreement in the community about A, the need for a dock, and B, the location of the dock. And these are some of the things we need to address.
Okay, but I agree with you, Mary. But again, and I'm sorry, but I am confused.
Yeah.
I'm not confused, but I think our terminology can be misconstrued here, because we use this term site assessment. In this document, to me, that means assessing the Parks and Rec waterfront access site, not other sites. And so
where it says.
Yeah, that is right, Dave.
Okay.
So we had a statement in here. I don't know where it was, Lane, but you said in the final report to include site assessment. Well, are you talking about this site or other sites?
This is from Rod. This is from Rod about what should be in the final report. Rod, actually, we did not have site investigation. Well, did we? He modified this a bit, and we came out with site investigation. So,
okay, but we have to be clear to this contractor that they're not doing any other site assessment. We did, where we are. So maybe we put results of the site assessment, or change that terminology. I just don't want to. Well, if you want to include, want to include the work that Chris is doing, then I would say result of the site assessment provided by Leica. Something.
I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to commit to that in an RFQ. I'm not sure what. I don't know where it will go, and I'm not sure. If in the end, the only people who really want to hear about that. Anyway, I don't think we have enough information in the RFQ, and I don't think anyone else is going to misinterpret this RFQ. It says now results of the site assessment.
Okay, that's good then. Yeah, I just wanted to be very specific on that. We need to communicate to the community that this grant was specific to this site, right?
Yes.
Now we're going to do extra work,
but
this contractor is not going to do extra work, right?
No.
This consultant.
Right.
No, all they're going to do is know that we did it and ask them how is, their suggestions for the best way to present that to the community and to Parks and Rec. I mean, maybe we'll ask that twice anyway. But and my thought is the first thing we do is we go back to Parks and Rec and say this is what we've done to confirm that while there are other places on the island that you could imagine might work, in fact there are no other sites that would work. Now, if somebody else wants to conduct a different study on that, feel free. But our funding is to look at this site.
Yeah, so I guess what I envision here is we'll get this final report from this consultant, and we'll put some wrapper around that adds our background information, right? And our site survey and We're not just going to hand this
project
final report.
So project background, part of the project background is the committee spent 2 years to get to this one site.
Right. Okay. So we can provide that to this consultant to include in this report.
Yes.
That's fine. Yeah.
And I think that you say to people, if you're interested in how that played out because you want to do something else with it, feel free. Public information, but we just confirmed that we did not wake up one day, look out the window and say, oh, look, there's a question out there. Let's make it into a dock and stop.
Right. Yeah. Well, I know that there's concern about this site from the neighbors. And we just need to emphasize that there's still benefit of doing this design work, even if we don't use this site. Let's say we do come up with a different site, right? There's value in having this conceptual design done, if you want to call it that. I mean, ideally it moves forward at this site, but I understand the pushback, and we'll certainly include or discuss or present that we did look at alternate sites and that this seemed to be the ideal or only solution. But I do think that we need to be prepared to explain the value of doing this grant, and that we're not just steamrolling this decision through, right? I mean, we had an opportunity because this new grant came up, and so here we are. And I think it's a good thing. We're learning, and we're going to come up with some ballpark cost for this specific design and a plan forward. And if we have to change sites, well, we still have value in this, right? So I'm just kind of thinking through it on my own here, because you in your agenda you talked about outreach to the neighbors and the various pushbacks. So, that's my thoughts on it anyhow. So,
but I think what we might end up doing is renaming our effort. So if the term is going to be confused, we might end up just trying to think of some other way to refer to an effort to figure out, site analysis, something where we don't use the term assessment. But since Rod used it, it sounds like it's a pretty legitimately used, and I think I've used it.
I guess
I think maybe, site analysis would be something that would be a different, or potential analysis or something else that just gets away from any terms we can use.
Maybe site selection is a good term. Right.
Okay. Okay. Thinking about it. Okay, and then I don't think, again, other than accepting any of the edits that Rod suggested, I don't think we have any other changes. Scheduling, that was it. So it's basically now it's 4.5 pages with pictures.
Okay.
So I think, that came out streamlined. Okay, so I'll save this. This will be our draft 2, and then this will be ready to share with engineering consultants.
Okay. Do you want to make a PDF out of this, Lane? So
I can provide a PDF. Yes, I will.
So it's not editable, and we can share it.
Yeah, what I'm going to do is put it onto the community website, so then you can give people a link.
Okay.
What's nice about that is it enables us to upload minor changes or something, and the link still works.
Right. Okay.
And by the way, we will rename this. Apparently, it's RFQ, and then the year, which is 23, and then 0 1, 2, or 3. We have 3 RFQs. So you
Oh, I see.
this. I was calling it 3 because in my mind I always think about task 1, 2, 3, and this is task 3. So I'll rename it RFQ 2303, like a da 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 da. So we'll have 3 of these RFQs.
Okay.
Like a little.
And that's what will be published, I guess.
That will be published.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So we want to share this with KPFF first, or do you want to reach out to?
I would definitely share it with KPFF first, just in case they have feedback, because we had a few questions. What we wanted to get from them a little bit better idea of timeline.
Yeah.
So I think we want to do them first. But in the meantime, I will reach out. And Rod forgot to ask the question. I asked about the blue folks in engineering. So I'll get back to you on that question.
Okay.
And then we were talking about Bellingham. I forget which one was. Mantle is in Bellingham. Anyway, one of those. I'll reach out tomorrow. We go to Alaska on Thursday.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Okay.
Isn't it Anchor QFP or something like that, or PQ?
Maybe.
PF.
I think
that is a consult. That's the consulting company that did all of the design for the quarry for Heritage Trust.
Oh, they are.
Or Anchor Q&A or something. Or
yeah.
And Rod recommended that one also in our initial talks with him.
Oh, okay. Then no, I'll follow up with them.
Okay. Okay. Well, but I could take the initial action and send this out to KPFF and get that dialogue going, right?
Yeah.
I can do that today. Just maybe we'll get a little feedback before you leave. When are you leaving, Lane?
I leave Thursday morning.
Okay.
We'll be, they alive, but we'll be busy family, so I won't be on a lot.
Right. Well, we'll get it started, and
yes.
you'll need a little time to review.
Okay, cool. So Anchor QAE, isn't it? Something like that. Okay, cool.
UAE.
That's it. Okay, so marine survey. So I told you last time that the Department of Fish and Wildlife had told us that we could do a pre-preliminary study, and that could occur outside the window between October 1st and June 1st. Excuse me, June 1st and October 1st. I got the quote back from the original folks who were called Marine Survey over in Port Townsend. And theirs didn't change any in the original quote, but he told me that it would cost less given that the actual hours spent underwater will be billed. So the original quote assumed a full survey. The real survey apparently is just big enough to have a polygon, not a lot of data points. So in the preliminary survey, they're dictated how many data points they have to have. Pre-preliminary survey, we just need a general shape of where the eelgrass is. And apparently whether there's also, I think kelp is the other one they would identify. And so we're guessing that it'd be $9,000 less something. I don't know, maybe less 2,000 or 3,000, but still probably in the, I'm thinking $7-ish or $6,000 or $7,000. I did get a quote from the people over Jen Marcus. Marcus is, they are the ones who were suggested that Drayton Archaeology had worked with, and their quote has come in at something like 4,000. So I'm just got back to both of them to say, because Jen J was saying, you need to get this done now. And so apparently she missed the part where I said, we don't have to get it done now. And we will not be getting it done inside the window because the window closed, I think, yesterday. So I will get back to her. I've already gotten back to the other person and explained we will go through a whole procurement process. We will not plan to do this during the season. We'll plan to do it during the winter or spring, based on, we'll talk to the engineers about what information they need. And now I will, given that we don't have to do an RFQ yet, I will wait to identify a third surveyor until we get closer to actually issuing an RFQ. And my thought now is, I'm guessing something more like, well, I don't know when, but it won't be in 2023. I wouldn't have thought. So that's where we are with
that. Okay.
Okay. Now, I wanted to show what I've been working on for, I'm going to get back to where I can see my, there we go. We had talked about figuring out, I had been working on this map of all of the properties that would be near the public dock, if it were on the beach store cafe, basically. And so what I have is a map with the property lines, and I also have all of their contact information.
Oh, great.
This is going north from the property, pretty much to Centerview. So it's 18 property owners. And like I say, I'm getting all of their names. So we have in one place who all these folks are, where they are. And then south down to Granger Way. And I went ahead and made sure that we had for Yeager, Mathewson, and Benzac, that they also have the property. Well, they have property on both east and west side of the road.
Oh, okay.
So that's contact information. And then this is the sort of the combined, if we wanted to provide. So let's say we were doing a presentation to the community itself, or to Park and Recreation, or to the engineers. This is what's happening north and south of that site. Okay.
And you said you have addresses for everybody, or?
That's what this is. 2227.
Oh, and that's all. Yeah, okay, I got you.
This is all of you.
One of them's NA.
So here in parentheses, this is the property ID. So the property ID.
Can you guys still hear?
In parentheses, yeah. So
Oh,
there we go. So the property ID is here. So if you're looking at the tax forms, you can look it up by either. I mean, the tax assessment site. So that took a long time to put together, as you can imagine, bouncing back and forth between the apps. But my thought then is whether we want to send a physical mail, a letter to all of the homeowners. So this doesn't just address those who have concerns, because at this point we have, again, all homeowners. Chris is like, oh, wow, that's good. Yes. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, like I say, I think that you need to convey, because it's going to come up, obviously, with everybody. Have you talked to the neighbors? And this gives a good visual. And it also includes neighbors like the Islander and the beach store and everything, where we have, beyond homeowners, we actually also have businesses there. So what did you guys think about sent? Did we lose the other two, Mary, or am I just not seeing them? Oh, you're on mute. Oh, we lost them both. They must be on their way back. Chris is back. Okay. So Mary and Chris, what do you guys think about writing a letter and reaching out to all of them with a, here's the schedule, here's some information. Mary, you're actually still on mute.
Chris lost his internet. I wonder if Dave did too, because they both went out at the same time. Let me call Dave.
Okay. Open. I have about 5 more minutes. Call at 9.
Yeah, let me just try calling him. Hi, did you lose your internet? Yeah, can you pop in on your phone? Well, Chris lost his too. Are you on Pogo Zone? Hey, Chris, are you on Pogo Zone? Okay. Yeah, or you can just log in on your phone too. That's what I do sometimes. Just go Zoom on your phone. Okay. Bye. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Chris is back. Okay, good. Yeah, Dave's gonna try to log in on his phone if he can't get on with the computer. Chris, are you Pogo Zone? Oh well.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just keep on moving.
I guess so. Anyway, so
No-go zone, more like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's Pogo Zone too. It sounds like it might have been a Pogo Zone problem.
Okay. So we should share.
Okay, Dave's back.
I have about 5 minutes, then I need to run because I've got a family.
Hey, I bet.
Okay. All right, Lane's got about 5 minutes, so keep on cruising.
So
Okay.
thoughts on sending a letter, physical mail to all of those neighbors, telling them what's going on, what the schedule is, and this is a year-long process we are engaged in, and there will be many opportunities to meet and discuss, etc. But we are hiring these contractors. This is what will happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Question is real quick. Do you think it would be beneficial for us to talk with them before we have the contractors hired, just to have a meeting? Because if we send out a letter, it would seem better if we had, invite them to a meeting, or should we just try to do it with them, or just wait until the contractor is hired so that they can be in on the negotiations too?
I was I told Chris that I would lean toward waiting because on some levels, I feel like this is kind of a negotiation to which I do not personally feel well skilled.
Hmm.
And I'm not sure that I'd want to go that alone.
Okay. The one thing I think about is that in Ed Scott's letter to us, his most recent letter, he just makes the comment that it would be horrible to waste the money on doing this. Blah. You all read the letter. When you know we're going to be fighting you tooth and nail, basically.
Uh-huh. I mean,
Oh, there again.
What was that?
Oh, Chris has a comment here. I was trying to read Chris's note there. But there again, Mary, I think, yeah, I think that's Chris's point too. He says, wait, in my mind, wheels are moving. And at this point, nothing can be negotiated. We have no say over the funds. And that's, again, what I was trying to emphasize. And we need to explain to the neighbors that, okay, we understand there's an objection now, but we, in our process, this grant became available. We went for it. We got it. And if we don't do this study, then the money is wasted. In fact, now we're obligated. That answer. Yeah. I mean, we're actually obligated by contract now to do this, right? We can't just walk away. Yeah. I don't think. I guess that's a question for our Leica attorney, Mary, but I think if we make it clear to them, because as you said earlier, Lane, it's not like we're building a dock. We're not building anything. We're going through this study for this specific site because we made that decision in conjunction with Parks and Rec. But there's value in it irregardless of what site is selected. I guess that's...
Okay, just doing a reality check.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, Mary. And I think it gets back to that central message we have to relay.
Okay, let's think about that. And people toss around some ideas for what you think we would want to make sure we include,
okay.
Suite, so we don't want to go on for pages. But let's think about that, and then next week, see about getting that out.
Okay.
Okay. In the meantime, let's also think about a newsletter for subscribers. Leica Board was suggesting that we go ahead and send a newsletter soon. I've kind of been like, if only we had a newsletter writer on the team who is not doing other things. Anyway, so I'll try to gin up some thoughts on content. We don't want to repeat. The Tome article is coming out tomorrow, next day or so. We don't want to repeat what's in there, so we have to think about what content to provide that would be of interest, but not.
I think if we do this letter to neighbors, some of that content would be appropriate in that newsletter, right?
That's
just
true.
Message of this site-specific grant, right? Just to kind of get it all clear out there.
Oh yeah, I mean that's another way to do it, isn't it? Because the overlap between the neighbors and this newsletter list is pretty small. We could do it as a how did we get here or something like that.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Because my thought was the sort of location, inviting them to take part in a what do we call it? Property analysis. What are we trying to call it?
Site selection.
doc analysis. Anyway, whatever it's called. And that could be that's probably a good idea. Let's trying not to make redundant work, folks.
Yeah.
So, and we can still tell the neighbors, any of them, more than delighted to have them join a team of us who will, be meeting to discuss. And if they want to discuss and spend their whole time talking about how terrible Parks and Rec is, then that site is, then I suggest we welcome their input as to where it is. Okay, guys, great. Thank you. Must run. lot of progress.
Okay.
Here. Send that PDF later, and reach out to Anchor. And progress. We are rolling. Oh, before I do that, hang on a second. Check all the chat. You get all the.
Thanks, Chris.
Yes, got it. Okay, but I'm happy to finish that map. Like I say, it took me a long time, but I wanted it to be something we'd share with everybody. So it needed to be a sort of ready for prime time before we shared it with anybody. That was also my concern.
Yeah.
When it's done, that's a really good effort, and I think that will pay off.
Yeah, because this is what we're going to come back to over and over, right? And it's just like we talked about this. Here they are. Everybody, look. Okay, that's where we are. So then, revisiting. Okay, cool.
Yeah, thanks for grinding through that, Elaine.
You bet.
Yeah, okay. And hey, have a great trip. And we'll see everybody in. It won't be 2 weeks. I guess it'll be 3 weeks, right?
Oh, because
or
are there 5 Tuesdays in October?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so it's the first and third Tuesdays. Everybody got that?
Okay. So today is the third.
We'll still be in touch, but in the meantime, well done, Phil.
Okay.
Thanks.
And I like this 8 o'clock meeting, so that's great. It frees up a night for me.
Yeah.
Need another coffee.
Okay.
Yeah. And,
all right, guys.
Okay. And really quick, do we want to change our meeting times in the community calendar then?
Oh, yes. Oh,
okay. Week. I can take care of that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So first and third Tuesdays at 8 a.m.
You got it.
Okay.
Yes, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye, guys.